Okay, hello. I'm gonna hopefully make this video in one take. I'll probably end up pausing it a bit, so if, with bits I'll probably repeat that you don't really need to see, because I've already explained it. This is a video hoping to explain my colouring process, maybe two of them, or I may do two parts, I don't know yet. Yeah, so hopefully it will help. I'm just gonna talk through my process of how I colour. For the record, I'm using Open Canvas. It is Open Canvas 6 point whatever, and I've used a friend's line art because it's mermaid, so I thought it's quite fitting. Yeah, so generally what I do when I have line art in Open Canvas, you'll have a look at the layer information area, I guess. This is the layer property, so it's saying it's normal. I want it on multiply. This is so I can create a new layer with a normal type underneath, and I can pick a color, use the pen tool, quite high brush size, and clean, color into the lines so the lines aren't affected. Usually what I do to begin with, I'll start working on a background if I'm going to put one in. Now, I do two types of colouring. I used to do more of solid flats, but my more recent type of colouring, which I find is a bit better because you can kind of focus on light and dark, is I will grayscale shade the image, and then I'll overlay colours on top. So I'll try that first, I guess. So I'd usually pick quite a dark colour for the background. I still kind of use flats in this, but not as much. So I'll just set up my flats now, and by doing that I've got a nice flat solid background, and I can create a new layer on top of my background. I don't name my layers because I don't know, it's just a waste of time for me. I know what I'm doing, I guess, most of the time, and if I don't, there's an undo button. What I did with one of my favourite pictures I've done using this process is just, I'll do it again with this, I guess. Make my flats a bit bigger. Usually, if I'm selecting different colours, and I'll show you how I do that other process in another video, I would colour like this, say the skin tone colour, and have all the skin on one layer, and I'll probably include the kid's skin as well, and then on another layer I'd have her hair, and then on a separate layer probably the kid's hair, because their hair is too close to her hair for me to feel comfortable having it on the same layer. I'll try and segregate it all, and the tail will probably be a layer, and their tails will probably be another layer. Yeah, but in this case I may just try something a little bit different. I'm just gonna try and colour in one flat and then shade it all. Now I think I'll probably pause the recording at this point, so you don't have to see me hand colouring all this, because I don't select. I don't know, I quite like doing flats like this. So I'll hopefully see you in a second when this is all coloured in. Just finished one line of flats, just one layer, and thought I couldn't remember if I credited the line artist, so this is done by my friend Nicole Sanchez, as you can see here. She's also the Button Glutton on Instagram, so do check her out. Okay, so I've got all my flats done. I will delete them all so you can see. First we did the background on the very bottom layer. Then we created a new layer above the background, and I used it just for the mother in this picture. I create a layer above the background and under my previously done layer, and segregated the children as well. And again, under that is this rope, and then under that is this background. I put it under just so I can be kind of, it saves time. I can be a bit lazy with the lines because I've got the base above it. You can see the children are a bit all over the place, but because some other layer is above it, it makes it neater. So yeah. Next, what I'll do is pretty much shading, and worry about colour later. This helps because you can obviously just concentrate on light and dark. What I'll do for now, I'll select the layer I'm gonna shade, which will be this one. I'll probably do the background last. Sometimes I do it first, because it can help with the lighting, but I'll just do the skin first. So I've got layers and selections. I go on selections with the layer that I'm interested in, and I right click and create a new mask from transparency, which will pretty much just select my layer. Also go to view and untick selection edges, so my selection isn't obvious, even though I know it's selected. Now I'll create a layer on top. Well, actually, what I'll do, this is quite a light colour, I'm going to make her a bit darker and just fill in the layer. I'm doing this because I'm going to duplicate it, and instead of shading from light to dark, I'm going to have dark as my base and apply lighter colours. I use an airbrush. My airbrush settings is that my brush size is quite large, but the minimum size is tiny, and it only has about 10% transparency or opacity, and my anti-alias is obviously on. I like to have a brush size quite big, and I work on different layers, so I'll just try and apply just brief shading in areas where I think the light would be hitting. Just very briefly for now. You don't have to be like super neat, because we're gonna refine it and keep refining it. So you can probably hear my pen strokes. And that was my stomach. Don't know if you would have heard that. So yep, still just with the selection, just putting where I think there would be lighter areas. Now, I've only really done this kind of process once before, but it did bear quite nice results, so That's why. Yeah. So video has to be split up because Bandicam will only record every 10 minutes because I haven't bought it, which is a fair one. But yeah, still using the airbrush, nothing changed. Just trying to add a little bit of texture, roughly. Also, like, vary the transparency of this layer, and when I'm happy with it, I'll merge it down. I'll do that a lot. Again, I've created a new layer and just repeating the process pretty much. Just refining it. I'm making my brush size slightly smaller. And just putting lights where I think light would be. Again, still quite rough, like nothing too strenuous. Adjust the brush size as well for different areas. Just looks a little bit smoother. And again, changing the transparency of it to something I like. Creating a new layer when I'm happy with it. I won't merge it down just yet. This one I'm going to focus a little bit more on shadow and sharp shadows, so I'm going to set this layer to multiply and just select a grey. I'm using the pen at 100% transparency, so not at all, and the brush size is probably a bit big, maybe about 19. I'm just going to use this to do like hard shadows, where I think shadows would be. Just painting, I guess, but not really. Penning. I've assigned keys on my tablet for undo, so I can just hit a button if I make a mistake. Hit a button a few times. But yeah, I'll pause it and carry on with this, and I'll show you near the end, because this process takes quite a while and it's just going over things, so yep. Okay, so I've pretty much done just that one layer. I'll probably put down the transparency and pretty much repeat that process a few times, just refining it. Yeah, I'll just turn it up so you can kind of see. Obviously I've missed bits in the background, but that doesn't matter. It's easy to fix later. But yeah, so I've turned down the transparency a little bit, just so it looks a bit softer, and then do more shadows by creating a new layer again above previous one, again having it multiply, pen, and do the same again. So just making the shadows a bit darker and adding a little bit of texture, I guess. I'll just let it roll while I do the face. And then, so you get the general idea, it's just like a repeat of it. That's why I like to keep things on separate layers, just so I can easily erase things if need be. Just many mistakes are usually made. So yeah, again, you get the general idea. I'll just pause it and show you after I've done this layer. Okay, so that's pretty much the layer done now. Again, it's quite rough. But what I'm also going to do, I'm going to use the airbrush on the same layer, a few shadows, just to soften them up a little bit. I know they're quite dark at the moment, but we're gonna change the transparency of this layer. Zoom out a bit so we get a nice idea of what we're doing. It looks quite dark. So we're just gonna change this multiply layer and just lighten it up a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Again, a new layer. I've done, up till now we've done rough lights on a duplicate layer. I use this duplicate layer because putting white on dark turns out better than just putting white on a transparent layer on dark, if that makes sense. Afterwards it's not too bad. That's just our lights, kind of more refined. First set of shadows, second set of shadows, and now I'm gonna start highlighting. Actually darken this a little bit more and lighten it. About 50. Yeah. Always tweak the layers. I'm gonna use very light. Colour doesn't really matter. I'm just grayscaling and get the pen again. I would probably put dodge or linear dodge. These make really good effects when using colours on highlights. We'll see what dodge is like. And it's very white. We'll just go normal to begin with, and maybe dodge on the next layer. But yep, now I'm just adding highlights. Or rough highlights to where I think more light stuff will be. This is a little bit more precise. And like all the other layers, we are going to lower the transparency of it so it looks softer. It's just, we do it on the highest just so it's easier to see at the moment. You know, adding texture as well with highlights. You can see, I don't know, with me it really feels like the image comes to life when I add highlights. I fear I won't have time to do colours today, and that I will not be able to do this in one sitting, however. I will do it eventually. Don't know why I'm using the undo shortcut. I have one on my tablet. But yeah, it's again exactly the same principle. Going through over in places where I've done previously, and I'll pause it and get back to you shortly. Okay, so I've done all the highlights again, and I'm going to just use the airbrush again, just ever so slightly on the highlight layer, and just add in a little bit more softer areas where need be, mainly on the tail, to be honest. And as you can see, I've lots of dots on the tail. Try and give a bit of texture to it. I'm going to make these quite light. Okay, and probably again, most definitely again, or probably about it, going to turn down the transparency of the highlighted layer, and yeah, about there. Looks good to me. Tweak it a little bit. And so that's like the basic shading done. This is ready to have colours overlaid on it, which I'll have to get back to in another episode, as I don't have much time today. But I'll just repeat this same process using amount of layers. What I'll do right now, because I'm happy with this single layer, I will begin to merge it down. So this is the bottom one that we had before we worked on all these, and I'm going to just merge down each layer above it down onto layer 3, which is the mermaid mother. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As I say, I'll repeat the process and I'll get back to you when it's all grey scaled and ready for you.